Hill Salem's Lot, the intersection between two worlds. Libra, a secret society of superhumans toiling in the darkness to protect the fractured balance between these two worlds. These are our stories.
Hello and welcome back. This is the Brotaku Retrospective. I'm Clinton Tospin.
I'm Eddie Friels.
And today we are covering Blood Blockade Battlefront. That is a tongue twister. I'm so sorry. I always have a hard time saying that title. Honestly. I just go BBB.
Absolutely. At this point, I have only recently been able to get it right, because in my head I always want to read it as Blood Battlefront Blockade.
Right.
That feels like that one should flow better, but weird title namings aside, this one has all the perks of a modern anime with the feel of like a 90s anime.
Yeah, it kind of gives you that retro storytelling to it in a sense. Like, because when we were doing the watch through, I kind of made note of that, like how everything was its own little story.
Mm-hmm.
But there was always something bigger in the background, of course.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and they do a good job of showing you the always bigger in the background every single episode.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So definitely. The world we're in this go is New York City, but in this world, a portal to another dimension opened up underneath it, causing a catastrophic event that had not it been stopped, the world would have been sucked into it. And in this other world is every kind of creature, it's beyond comprehension.
Yeah, pure chaos, basically. I mean, it is just,
it
doesn't make sense.
Non-Euclidean spaces, you've got your multi-brained entities, you've got vampires, you got werewolves, is your hodgepodge of everything, think sci-fi
of that
horror.
One painting where there's stair steps going everywhere. I can't remember that the title of that piece, but yeah, that's basically what it is. Like, everything's just kind of upside down and around. You're like, oh man.
And so on the day that the world is trying to sink into heck, group of sorcerers stop it, they put a barrier around it, and now 3 years later the citizens of this merged city of Hell Salem's Lot are trying to coexist.
I mean, they got no choice. They're locked in that little bubble.
And so it feels very slice of lifey as a major metropolis kind of anime, but we end up following through the eyes of Leonardo Watch.
Protagonist.
Our teenage kid hero. Yeah. And what I gotta say just up front is they do such an awesome job, because he feels like the awkward teen reluctant hero the whole time.
Yeah, he really does.
He's not your gung-ho shonen, I'm gonna be the best, I'm gonna train my sack off. He's like, I'm just trying to not die today. If I can eat and wake up tomorrow, we're good.
And that's the key traits of his character. He's an honest, genuine kind of kid, too. In the New York City, kind of setting, where he kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, honestly.
If he's going to have a superpower outside of his superpower, it would be that he doesn't, back down from anything. If he's in a bad situation, he's like, well, that's still the situation I'm in, so, gotta get through it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really gotta respect that. So, we start out in episode 1 with Leonardo in the diner. Just trying to get a cup of coffee. He came to this city originally.
Right. And he's writing a letter to his sister.
Yes. When he came to the city, he was with his family because they had heard lots of weird stuff happens here, and maybe we can find something that'll help his sister walk. Because his sister's been wheelchair bound her whole life.
Yeah, she's had pretty bad health issues her whole life. Not terminally, I don't think, but definitely life altering for sure.
Yeah, you never get the vibe she's gonna vanish anytime soon. It definitely is not like Joey and Serenity were in Yu-Gi-Oh, where it felt like crisis mode the whole time.
Oh yeah, she's blind and she's gonna die.
Yeah,
all the time.
He did have something that ends up motivating him as they're in the city. a paranormal event happens,
Mm-hmm.
and they're forced to make a deal with an unknown entity that one of them will be the observer and obtain the all-seeing eyes of the god.
Yes.
And his sister Michaela, because being headstrong as she is anyway, decided that she's gonna take the penalty and give up her sight so that Leo can have the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And that ends up being his guiding light, like the whole time, as he's hoping to find some way to restore her vision.
The redemption arc, basically, yeah.
And so, to that ends, he stays in Hell Salem's lot, and he's trying to find this organization, Libra, because he's like, that's going to be the best lead. And I know there's a ton of these dudes, but it's a secret society.
And like any lead just basically leads to nowhere. Basically, how these people operate.
Mm-hmm. And so we open up, any given random day.
Mm-hmm.
Leo's gone to the local diner to get a cup of coffee.
That's all you can afford.
And as with normal chaos in this town, he's sitting at the bar, and he sees all of a sudden a monkey fly by.
He's the only one who can see it, though.
And he's the only one that sees it, and apparently the monkey runs off with his digital camera, which is like the only thing this kid cares about across the whole series.
That's
he wears
his job,
the same outfit, and he always has the camera.
Yeah, that was kind of his job, because I think he was or trying to be like a freelancing journalist of some kind, and Libra was the hot topic, and people are paying big money to get some dirt on these people, or any kind of intel, really.
And so he runs out of the diner screaming, "Stop that monkey!" And everyone's all confused. And as he's running through town, chaos is just erupting all around him. There's a bank robbery going on, and the monster robbing the bank causes explosions.
Mm-hmm.
And through some twist of fate, he runs into a member of Libra.
Yep. And that's where we meet Zap. Which Zap, it just spews hard-headed, dumb,
raunchy, misogynist himbo.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. And his attitude is just insufferable, honestly. So, and so we get off to that part as Zap is basically kind of scolding Leo at this point because he's mistaking him for somebody else. We don't know this. But basically, he's like, I've been waiting for you at this location.
How can you not be on time? I've been waiting. Da, 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 da.
And then he drags our boy Leo off. And that's, I think this is where we go and get into the throng of things. Yeah, basically.
So, yeah, Zap takes Leo off to the Libra headquarters.
Yeah.
And we're given our first introduction of the cast of characters, and you get a nice little medley of them, which we'll go into more detail as we go through, because the storytelling narrative of this is not through the course of the 12 episodes we've got this one major thing that's happening. It's very much like a 90s anime where every single episode is an individual happenstance that leads up to, at the end, a very big happenstance. And so it's a gorgeous ride to be along for, but you could, if you were watching them out of order, you would not have a bad time. Everything stands alone flawlessly with this one.
I think so. You can probably, this would be a background watch type of show, honestly. It even has great music, to be honest with you. There is a great soundtrack to this whole first season. So, to be honest with you, just starting to watch the second season, but I will say 10 out of 10 soundtrack on this first season for me.
Super enjoyable. It helps enhance the world in all the right ways.
Yes, for sure.
And so as we are just getting our first hellos with this Libra organization, and we find out that Leo wasn't even the intended target, all of a sudden, whoosh, big flash of light, and half the building's missing. And we get a TV announcement, because apparently everybody is hooked up to the TVs in Hell Salem's Lot, and apparently hijacking that network doesn't seem to be an issue because it seems like it happens every 4 episodes or something.
I think that kind of plays into like how Hell Salem's Lot is just kind of like chaos. So like that's just kind of bleeding out into New York City.
Breaking news! I'm the King of Madness, and today, for shits and giggles, I'm gonna release 1 million mutant beasts into your town. The opening of season 2.
Right, essentially. But yeah, so building gets sliced in half, and next thing, yeah, there's a broadcast, and it gets hijacked by our
King of Madness?
I want to
I don't know. It's one of the 13 kings of
because
depravity, and this one is always bored.
Yeah, Vant is his name, or
I don't remember any of their names. I barely remember their titles, but
right.
He's going to be the most recurring one, and he is background at most. But I'm pretty sure it's just the king of despairs. I think it's Madness. I'm pretty sure it's Madness.
Well, I mean, it has to be because a lot of his things are done in like the kind of like devil. Well, no, kind of like whatever happens, kind of happens type of deal. Like he always kind of tries to get the last laugh, like the Joker.
Whatever is funniest for me is the best outcome.
Yeah, that's pretty much him. Tootsie.
And so we find out through he hijacks all the teleprompters and he's like, "Hey, let's play a game. I put a monster in 2 halves in 2 parts of the city, and if they get together, they'll join into a mega monster.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to stop this." And so we find out that we've got a side squad of Libra operatives already dealing with the top half of it.
Yeah, the other half, yeah.
And then for whatever reason, it seems like the portal. Yeah, and it's assumed from how everything played out that the portal is on the monkey that Leo had been chasing.
Right, yeah, because it opens at intervals and they start to like have to, like, because as the closer it gets, like the more it's going to start trying to pop off.
Yeah, because they're on a timer. The more the timer goes down, the more often that the portal pops.
Yes.
And on the announcement, King of Madness goes, "Hey, you have to destroy that second portal to make this work." And so apparently this monkey has a good sense of intelligence. Aside from being super fast, it makes me almost think of like Momo from Avatar.
Definitely.
But the monkey hears that and is like, "Okay,
I'm out.
Runs. And so our remaining members, Leo and Zap, go off to chase it while Klaus and the rest of the characters go to deal with the fighting half of the problem.
And let me take a little side note here. Like, Leo, remember, we're watching the show from Leo's eyes, his perspective. In every character introduction, there is like a little like snapshot candid of the character that we're getting introduced to, and then there's a little subtext around.
I love that. It's like a manga still.
Zaps cracks me up at every time.
It's worth the pause for his captions because they're always from like his thought process. So especially like if you're paying attention to what he has over himself, you actually get to see a nice little character growth of like his own development.
Yeah, there's subtle changes throughout the show. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So definitely worth checking that out. But yeah, everybody gets that. It's such a great storytelling medium because it's like we're not going to waste any time on this because, you know, much like with your real life, you go to get a new job, you meet new people. You don't know their whole past. You just get a couple things.
Like if you're trying to read what like the green text is saying at the very beginning, where it's like trying to give you the backstory into like the story you're going to, it goes by so quick.
Yeah, you're pausing like every other second.
You have to.
It's
like blah, redacted. Blah, it sucks, but yeah, you're gonna have to pause it to like kind of get the like build up tidbits to like what the episode's like foundation is. If you want to know that, like we said before, like you can watch these shows kind of casually and still be, you know, feel pretty enjoy it, you know, as it be in the background. So
yeah, this was my fourth go of season 1, and like every time I still catch something I didn't catch before. I'm like, ah.
Right? Heck yeah.
So anyway, back to the story.
We
Leo
got
and
the
Zap
2 hours.
are on their moped, which the fact they're driving like a Vespa through all the episodes just gets me in the heart. I
Right.
love that. They're going to chase the monkey, and it's come down to the wire, and they gave Leo the pew pew, and he's staring down the monkey, and he's like,
He does not want to kill this thing.
does not want to kill this thing, and he was like, there's a flaw in the logic. It can't be the monkey for whatever reason. And we find at the end of the episode get our first glimpse into like how potent Leo's eyes are. And he's able to see down to a like microscopic level to find out that the portal producer is not the monkey. It's a flea on the monkey. The monkey is basically just its taxi.
Yep.
And so once he figures that out, he just boop, squish.
Yep.
And the King of Madness throws a fit. He's like, why didn't you do
Kill
the monkey? That's so normal.
Yeah, and that's the running theme about this kid. He's normal.
He is the only normal person in this extra
normal city. Yeah. So yeah, pretty cool, crazy. Like it felt quick afterwards. It was a quick first episode, honestly. Like it was just kind of like delivered to you at such fast pace. Like
it's like a kid on a sugar rush. You're just like bam, 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 and then like you had this roller coaster experience.
This is from his perspective because that's what it felt like. Because he was just yoinked, mistaken for somebody else. And it's so funny, and I think by the end of it, I want to say, and I'm hoping I'm not getting into season 2 here, but or episode 2, but in episode 1, by the end of it, doesn't like Klaus, say like even though you're not the guy.
Yeah, he at the very end of the episode, he's like, yeah, even though you weren't who we meant to pick up, we would still like to extend you an offer to join Libra.
Which he's all down for.
And he's like, absolutely, this is the only way I'm going to find anything out about these crazy eyes. And so, wild, crazy 20 minutes cut us in. It's a lot of action, wham, bam, bam, and you're in it before you know it.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, you're into episode 2 before you know it, to be honest.
Yeah, and episode
they kind of just blur together. If you do like a binge watch on this, you're gonna see what I mean. Like they really do blend right into one another if you just let this thing go on the autoplay. It's crazy.
Yeah, because every cold open is like its own little event in the story. So we go into episode 2 and it's like Leo talking about his first day being at Libra, and he also has a side job of
delivering pizza.
Yeah, delivering pizzas. And so the opening bit is he's delivering pizzas, and everywhere he goes, Zap turns up,
bugging him,
and mugs him, eats his pizza, beats the crap out of him, just as being a delinquent.
Every turn. Literally.
And so through the course of the mundane pizza delivery, Zap and Leo are riding through town, and Leo stops because he notices something's looking weird. Like he sees something that nobody else can see. And he asks Zap, he's like, Zap, do you see that? And he's like, laundry van? And he's like, okay, nope, that's not what that is. So
yeah. He kind of lets him know, like, yo, you need to call Libra. There's something going on here.
And so Zap gets a hold of the superiors, and something on the not a laundry truck makes eye contact with Leo and realizes that somebody saw through the illusion. And, of course, Leo gets kidnapped.
Yes. Yep.
So the whole rest of the episode ends up being a wild car chase, basically. That's basically the whole episode is crazy blood power car race.
Yeah, that really is what it is. That in these people that Leo saw, they were loading in frozen bodies. So, I mean, that is really suspicious. So, like, Leo gets, I think, conked out or something. Like, basically just, like, kidnapped, like you said. And then he gets ported into this vehicle of some kind.
Not a laundry truck.
Not at all. But yeah, so basically, they're like, crap, we lost Leo. The first person they think of to put on the job, and I love her, is Chain.
Yeah,
Chain
we're
is
introduced to Chain really well this episode. I'll let you tell them about Chain a little bit.
Yeah, the Invisible Wolf. I mean, she is an expert tracker, very quick. I mean, this girl can teleport.
I'm pretty sure our first introduction to her, she appears out of nowhere and just stands on Zap's head.
Yeah, that's her favorite place.
Yeah, that ends up being an ongoing punchline of it all, and it never gets old.
But yeah, she can apparently, like, track anybody. And she's got that ability of just basically popping in and out.
Almost like a night crawler.
Yeah, basically. You just don't see it. Like, she just... Like, the show does a really good job. She's not there, and she's over there all of a sudden. It's like some ninjutsu stuff going on. But yeah, so she gets hired for the job, but unfortunately, this delivery vehicle is going into Hell Salem slot, where the fog is going to get denser, and it's going to get harder to track Leo down.
Yeah, it's going into the more alter world half of the thing, where it's like more the monsters than the human side of it.
Right. I think Steven gets involved too, but we don't get like a good introduction on him. I think he just kind of plays like kind of a side character in this one a little bit. We'll get into him in a minute. But
I'll say, in my opinion, the Libra MVP of this episode is Gilbert. So Leo's in the van. They're all waiting for their moment to strike. They know what's up. Zap ends up in the hospital through dumb decisions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And all our boys in Libra are making a plan to get Leo back, because we're learning, it's apparently a no man left behind kind of organization.
Yeah.
We like that.
Yeah.
And so while they're figuring out stuff on their end, waiting for the opening, because the illusion magic changed, and so they lost eyes. It was no longer...
Yeah, that's when Chain was like, crap.
Yeah, Chain tried to chase it down when he was first taken, and then they got
through
separated,
the traffic,
changed the illusion like in rush hour, and I think they changed like a 4-door white sedan or something.
Yeah, some regular everyday economy vehicle, yeah.
And they get lost. So boys at Libra are waiting for the opportunity, and then we go back to like Leo's perspective, and
he's in the truck.
And he's throwing fits, acting like a teenager in a bad situation. It's not too...
He can't do anything. He's just like, I can't do anything.
It's not as cringy as I think we just made it portray. It's very appropriate for the character, and he's talking with the goons that grabbed him, because the dude was like, nobody's ever seen through this. We paid a lot of money for this illusion. Like, what's your trick? Oh my gosh, you've got the eyes of the god. I can't wait to experiment on you. So they're messing with him, and and he's trying to figure out, like, I gotta be able to do something.
Right.
And so as they end up crossing over into the more extra paranormal side of the town,
going in through the fog,
and Leo finally decides, hey, I'm gonna try out this, and he ends up finding
show you what I see.
He ends up being able to hijack their vision, and it messes with everybody enough.
Keep in mind, he can see things you can't see, so he's showing them all the things they can see all at once.
Every realm of spectrum, and it looks like a psychedelic trip for how they portray it.
It really does.
I'm gonna rephrase that as a digital psychedelic trip, because I feel like it's very blocky when they do the thing. It is.
It messes with your eyes so bad. Think VR headset just twacking out.
Yeah, exactly. And so Leo causes enough headache that they end up crashing the truck, and that sets off our chain of events that allow for the rescue. Turns out
Zap the whole time actually has a blood art, and with his blood art he tied a thread of blood to the vehicle before the escape, and Steven points out and he realizes it. The reason why Zap's in the hospital is because he's losing blood as he's getting blood at the same time. And the doctors at the hospital are like, we've done. Somebody transfer. Like, we can't figure it out.
The blood is vanishing. What is going on, Klaus?
He's letting it, like, leading the vehicle. And, like, as soon as it stops, I think that's when they jump on that opportunity. Yeah. And that's what, and Gilbert jumps in at that part. There you go.
So I'm kind of surprised you didn't bring it up, but I love the fact that Zap's medium for his blood powers is a Zippo.
Yes, the lighter.
Yeah, yes. So Leo crashes the truck, which finally causes a stop, and Zap feels that, and he lights the chain on fire, and so it
gives you bright, and that's when Chain
takes off.
She's chasing it.
Everybody else, and so we get a scene of, I think it's Gilbert, who is the
Batmobile.
Yeah, we basically get the Batmobile scene. Their car is amazing.
Yes, it is.
It looks is like the 90s.
Out steel, dude.
Yeah.
All steel.
All chromed out. Has a couple forms. Oh, it's so good. And he's like, apparently concrete means nothing to this car.
That's why I said Batmobile, dude.
Yeah, when like they had to do an abrupt direction change, it's like, I'm just going to go through the barrier. No big deal.
Oh, we're on a ramp. There's an intersection down there. Gilbert is such a gung-ho driver, dude. Like, that dude is not phased. Like, it reminded me of the protagonist from Initial D, just like how calm he is. Just when everybody else is calm in the vehicle too, like they trust this dude's driving.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's like Klaus, Gilbert, and Steven in the vehicle. So we'll do a quick what we know of each of these characters because we're still episode 2. Leo hasn't shown us a lot of these. So far what we know, Klaus is the leader of the organization. He is this big brute. He's kind of got like gorilla teeth underneath.
Or wolf fangs. But it's an underbite.
Got a fierce underbite. But dude is like monster gorilla. Think Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist. He's that kind of dude.
In business attire.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's dressed super formally. Slacks. Button-up shirt, vest, no jacket, but a tie.
Yep.
Steven's wearing like a 3-piece suit. He seems to be the number 2. That's about all we know at this point of him. Yeah. He's got a big old scar on his face. And then we have Gilbert, who we keep geeking out about. Gilbert is the butler of Klaus. And he's, your proper butler, but we're getting the vibe at this point that this is more of a Alfred Pennyworth style butler.
Definitely.
And so especially we're watching, he is going through town behind the wheel like he is one with this machine, just tearing things up. And that's the first moment where I'm like,
right, this dude's insane.
He's all bandaged up on his face, but he's got like a distinguished like Tom Selleck mustache. Just all the weirdest character traits conglomerate into this weird butler, and I am all for it.
Yeah, the dude is just exuding like old man, like panty dropper. For real.
Oh, without a doubt, Gilbert is a silver fox.
Yes, definitely.
If he's not, it's only because he takes work too seriously.
Right.
One of them.
Being the Klaus.
And so, our guys catch down the vehicle, and Leo gets to have this kind of next eye-opening moment of, I work for some really badass people, because Klaus and Steven make very short work, like the whole episode, and then like the resolution was like a minute maybe. The bosses stepped in and they're like, done.
Yeah.
Which I thought too, like I said, I've rewatched this a couple of times now, and I was really watching it with the mentality of like, this is Leo's perception of this. And I'm like, it is. I do remember you get that vibe like your first job, and like you have a bad situation, you get your boss to step in, and they're just like,
make it look easy.
Yeah. It was like that kind of vibe, and that's the episode 2 wrap. They save Leo. I think Zap does some shenanigans. We end with like a face sitting or face standing.
Yeah, Chain's got to step on his face.
So, and that's episode 2.
Yeah. Leading us to episode 3. This is a very Klaus-focused episode, and we get a little bit of backstory on our main guy, or boss. So, episode starts out, I think some shenanigans were going on in this episode, and Klaus is just at his desk, hunkered down in front of his what looks to be like an old school like Macintosh. Yes. Yeah,
he's playing chess on an Apple II on like 90s internet is what it looks like.
Yes, definitely took me back for real. But yeah, he's playing chess and like this whole commotion's going on, and then like I guess it gets to a really close game and he finally loses. He's like, aha! He's like, that was a great match and everything.
And he's like glowing in the background. You get a scene of like all the chaos in the office, and Klaus is just like blissfully oblivious to all the chaos his subordinates are doing around him.
Right, exactly. And then I think this is when like the breaking news broadcast goes through. I think it's natural.
We get our problem for the episode.
Right, which I think is
it's some kind of street drug that is like fatal. Yeah, I think it's the premise.
Yeah.
Basically, if this shipment gets out, it will do devastating things to a vast percentage of the population. That's right.
Everybody was sent their own ways to get intel on this drug, if I remember correctly, in this episode, but nobody was coming up with anything.
Yep. Everybody comes up dud, so Klaus decides that I'm going to call upon my own lead. Mm-hmm. And basically the rest of the episode is all Klaus, and this is, if you don't fall in love with Klaus by the end of this episode, I don't know if you're gonna hang for the rest of the ride.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Like, cause I mean, this episode shows, like, when you really pay attention to the dialogue of this episode, like all the way through, you will understand. Like, if you don't, and I don't know what will then, but you will understand how much of like a tough dude Klaus is. Like, I mean, he's the boss of Libra for a reason. So he goes to his contact, which leads him all the way into Hell Salem's Lot, I believe.
Yeah, he goes deep in the altar world, and like the deeper you go, like the foggier it gets. Like that's one of the big traits about the melding of the worlds is like there's this unnatural fog that drifts in. And so the deeper you get into the altar world side of Hell Salem's Lot, it almost feels like a PlayStation 1 game where like you've got your random island and just nothing around it.
Yeah, everything's just kind of like on its own floating island and everything. And yeah. And he gets to the place he needs to go to. I think he goes down like a series of steps. It's like
it's like a weird winding road. We get this nice car scene of this.
Right, it looks like they're going through like a subway tunnel for a second, honestly, and they end up in like an underground
mansion. They end up at what appears to be like an alter world mafioso boss's house. How it's presented, and when he's in the Don's waiting room, it's him.
I remember, and KK's with him.
Yep, him, KK, who is. I think Leo has only seen her once, so when her tag comes up, it's just like classified.
Yes.
So all you see is blonde lady, eye patch, red coat.
Her name is KK.
Yeah, that's it at this point. And then there's also a Russian gentleman diplomat there, and his bodyguard.
Yes.
And so they go in, and they...
I think he says, like, I was here first.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to the boss.
Yeah, he throws a fit. And you start to get a sense that Klaus has been here before. And he's like, hey, don't try to beat him.
Right.
Like,
he tries to give this guy parting advice. He's like, whatever you do not try to win.
Yeah. Because we find out apparently he has done this now 3 times, played this crazy game of chess with this dude.
It's called something else.
Yeah, and we'll get into that in a moment.
Yeah.
But at first, apparently we find out there is something extra with this game because Klaus immediately, he's very respectful with it, but he's got that powerful, like, booming voice. Like, he is definitely an authority figure with anybody he talks to.
Yeah.
He's like, Don, you're going to play 2 games in one day? And Don was like, yep, I'm gonna do it today.
The first one won't be too long.
Yeah,
this is kind of how he's treating it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is my appetizer,
my warm up.
Yeah, and so he's like, nuts. And so then, as a result, class is like, all right, don't try to win. Like, you're just trying to play the clock.
Right.
You're not trying to play him.
Which is a big theme when we get when Klaus goes up against this guy.
And so the Russian dude, is
playing this game, thinking it's straightforward. I think he's only played for not even that long, I want to say. Like a couple of years, maybe?
Yeah, he says he dedicated, 20-something years of his life to chess or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had dedicated a couple years to this game that is basically an alter-world version of chess.
Yeah.
And it starts out, we see, a normal...
regular chessboard.
Expanded upon, though. It felt like there was more on it.
There was the chessboard, and then it looked like there was two little circular pieces with a little mini chessboard on each side of each player that had no pieces to start with, if I remember correctly.
Yes. And so as they play this game, more pieces come in, more platforms come in. It gets
more chaotic, of course, just like Hail Salem's Lot.
Yes. And so the Russian guy, he is playing the game because he wants
nukes.
He wants nukes for Russia. Mm-hmm. That's right. But as a result, he also didn't want anybody to know he came there for this purpose. So originally, Don says, if you can play me 8 hours, I'll give you thing A. Mm-hmm. Well, then dude was like, and I also want you to, the dude that was outside with me.
Nobody's supposed to know he's there, type of deal.
And the Don's like,
I really like that guy.
Right, I like him, but okay, 10 hours. And so
the guy agrees to it.
Dude agrees. We get this nice fade out scene of both of them at the table making moves.
And then I think this is where Klaus is kind of talking about him.
Yeah, then we get kicked out to Klaus's perspective for some backstory exposition. He tells a little bit.
I've played this guy a few times in the past, and I've not won a single time.
Right.
I've always just played to the time I needed to. Mm-hmm. And it's basically what he's trying to tell this guy is basically what he experienced. You cannot win. The only thing you can do is defend. Is all you can do.
Yeah. So, and then not long after the little exposition dump, we see the Russian dude getting kicked out of a portal. Super emaciated. Yes. And he had a minute left to go. He got that close.
And then he was basically almost gonna die type of thing.
Yeah, because apparently the kicker with this game is it takes a toll on your body somehow. They don't really spend a lot of time explaining it.
But this guy was bleeding from the mouth.
Yeah, he looked super emaciated. You can tell his cheeks were sunken in. His skin was gray. It somehow saps your vitality playing that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it becomes Klaus's turn. Klaus steps up in the room, and the Don asks his request, and he's like, "Hey, I need to find out about this drug going around, and also
I want you to
don't kill that dude."
Yeah.
And so Don's like, "All right, for you, Klaus, 99 hours."
Yeah, he's like, "I know what you can take, bud."
And so they agree to it, and we get it. It's basically a montage of snapshots where you just see the board growing and growing, and there's more pieces and more platforms and a top-down view.
Yeah, and while this is going on, the two goons outside with the Russian guy were talking to KK, and they can't they're like, that guy's not gonna last that long, not nearly as long. Our boss didn't even last that long. And then KK proceeds to tell him
he's like, you don't know him.
Yeah, you don't know Klaus. This ain't his first rodeo.
And so as we're going through the montage of the game, you were just seeing steam coming off Klaus the whole time.
He's getting sweating, dude.
Loosening that tie, you can tell it is draining on him. We saw the other dude get zombied, but Klaus is looking like he's just having a hard day at the gym.
And then the Don's just casually asking, have an idle chat with Klaus while this is going on. I mean, Klaus is responding in time, though. But can you imagine, like, somebody trying to have a conversation to you and you feel like you're dying?
Right. I want you to pick 500 pounds up off your chest. And by the way, can you tell me about this thing?
Right.
So...
How you been?
Right. And at some point, too, I think at some point in the episode, we find a couple fun things out about the Don. Mm-hmm. He shows us an image where he is pulls back his cloak, and he's basically like three brains and an eyeball.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we find out that he has been, if he didn't invent the game, he's been playing it for like 12,000 years, and that is like his one stress release thing. So
in their dimension, mind you, like this game came from that side. So,
yes. So he's never had anybody that like he beats everyone. He's like the top dog at that game.
Right.
And so our man Klaus survives his 99 hours. Oh, I forgot the one bit. He's like the Don's like, hey, you realize, Klaus, that dude wanted the He's like, yeah, but that's not going to change how I interact with the world. This is my code. This is how I'm going to do things. He's a
righteous guy. That is Klaus to the T. He always does what is the good thing, basically. He's the good guy.
And what I really loved about this episode, so at the end, it all wraps up. Klaus beats his 99 hours. Mm-hmm. Russian dude goes home.
Amazed. He's like, oh my god, like you survived 99 hours in there and you saved my life.
Libra gets the drug off the streets and nobody knows where Klaus got his lead, is what Leo says. Leo's like, I don't know what happened, but Klaus got it fixed.
Yep.
But the thing I loved about that is it kind of turned it on its head, your expectations of this character. Because with your early presentation, you're like, okay, he's super buff, he's well dressed, so he's like the well-mannered fighter kind of thing.
Yeah, like you said, Armstrong, basically.
Yeah, and so this one kind of turned it on its head, where you not only see how like righteous and headstrong, like in that regard he is, but you're also seeing like his intense intellect, because the whole battle of the episode was a battle of the minds.
That's why I feel like Klaus is trying to, like, he's all about balance. Sharpening the mind as well as sharpening your body.
Everything is a tool.
Yes, exactly.
And so, I love that they went that route with him.
Mm-hmm. Show him that he's a chess nerd. A buff chess nerd. It's awesome.
And so that's the end of the craziness for episode 3. Episode 4, we are introduced to Lucky MFN Abrams. So if you can think of Murphy's Law boiled down into one character, that's this dude. He straight up looks like
what's his name from Lupin?
Zenigata.
The detective.
He looks exactly like Zenigata without his hat. I was thinking Looker from Pokemon Platinum.
Yeah, that's not bad.
You know, the same trope. You know, your brown trench coat, side case.
Detective.
And this one,
he's a vampire hunter.
Yeah, we find out at this point that Libra's main job is actually to hunt vampires.
And vampires are a top dog threat because they are super enhanced beings.
Yeah, it's pretty much an end on sight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like basically, if you see this thing, you either run or you prepare for the fight of your life type of deal.
And so this episode starts out with Leo on a subway. Mm-hmm. And he's just looking out into the void, doing his thing, trying not to have his life end on the subway today. And he sees like a really brilliant red aura out in the distance. Mm-hmm. And so, flash forward just a little bit later in the opening bit.
I think he's talking to Libra.
It's like a Libra party. They've rented out a club. Everybody's there, whatever.
Yeah. And everybody's like going around getting sloshed or, drinking, as you would in the club. And everybody's telling their stories and stuff. And I think, I forget his name, but he's like, hey, Leo, tell us some stories, man.
And Leo ends up just through conversation asking, like, hey, has anybody ever seen somebody with a red aura?
Like
Record skip.
Right.
Everything stops.
Everybody in the club's like, what'd you say?
They bust out a bunch of like flashcards and they're like, which one of these did it look
like?
And Leo's like, I think it looks like this one. And the whole club's like, ah, no.
Yep.
He's gonna come. And Leo's like, who's gonna come? And he's like, you'll see soon enough. And that's when we get the background of Lucky Abrams, our trench coat wearing vampire hunter, who is apparently the biggest bad luck magnet on the planet.
Didn't he? Did he take a plane?
He did. He took a plane, and the way that everybody knew that he was there was when he landed, another plane crashed into the tarmac because of his gravity of unluck. We come to find out, they give a quick backstory throughout some point in the episode, but Lucky is basically of a long line of vampire hunters.
Yeah, I think Van Helsing type of deal.
And so during one of his younger hunts, he gets cursed by this vampire to have misfortune befall upon him.
Around him.
Well,
that was the key word, I think.
Well, so the way they explained it from how I remembered was it was supposed to apply to him, but apparently
directly.
If we're thinking about, so everybody's got their own weird little perks.
Mm-hmm.
If we're looking at Lucky Abrams' stat sheet, luck is plus 20.
99 or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the cap is, that's it. Wherever the max is, he's got that. He's like high intellect, high luck, nothing else. Because he's smart, but no wisdom. It is all book smarts and luck this dude has. And so since he's so lucky, the curse radiates off of him instead of affecting him. So every day, like, meteors are falling behind him, catastrophic, like, every moment of his life, something life-ending is happening around him. And being in a town
like this, I mean...
yeah, the likelihood of chaos just exponentially magnifies.
Yeah. I think that's why everybody was dreading it, because they're like, of all places.
Right, and so Leo starts figuring this out because they get paired up really quick, and he... Just little things in the background.
And Zap.
Concrete. Yeah, it's Leo
Zap's
Zap
like,
Lucky.
No.
And so as they're walking through town trying to go on their vampire hunt mission, you're just seeing Leo and Zap in the background getting binged by chaos.
Barely making it alive.
They really lean into how bad things are around him, and you fully understand.
Yeah, I think
quickly.
Zap is like, now do you see what I'm talking about? And yeah, so and then this is where Leo tells Abram what he saw, basically, and I think Abram gives him the 411 on vampires too.
That's like when Leo kind of finds out what Libra's actually about from Lucky.
And the funny thing about these beings is that they didn't start out with a body necessarily. I want to say they hijacked a human being's body on this side of the world.
I forget.
They're more of an entity, I want to think.
Yeah,
because
I would say less.
They're hard to kill.
Yeah,
very hard to kill.
Yeah, definitely more paranormal, less wooden stake to the heart.
It embodies a curse pretty well if you really want to get down to it, because it protects the vessel.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think.
Because basically the only way that they can defeat the vampires is they don't actually kill a single vampire.
Yeah, they need to seal them.
Yeah, they seal them away by figuring out their name,
which is a pretty cool thing, because I was just like, just like knowing the demon's name,
right?
You know?
Power of a name. And so we go on a vampire hunt this episode, and we come to find out at the end that Leo finds out that he can utilize his eye powers and find the vampire's name. Like, that's always Libra's the thing that hangs him up the most fighting vampires, is trying to figure that piece of the pie out.
Right, yeah.
So they're very secretive, hush-hush, nobody knows my name, for that reason.
Right.
But Leo can just see through all that to their essence and be like, oh, okay. And so we wrap out the episode with a nice vampire cleansing, which I thought was really cool. It looks like a like a biker's cross, like it's all
super
metal with the skull across.
Klaus's freaking blood grid technique, where he's just like sealed. Boom! He says their name and it does the technique, and he's just like, and as soon as he makes contact with them, they're just like, they go into their blood form, and then they just turn into the cross. Mm-hmm. Boom, done.
Yep. So, I also, as we were talking about that last bit, all of the blood magic users or whatever the power is, it's never really explained that well in this one. It's just like,
right,
we have powers that utilize our blood, so something, but like Zap makes swords and threads,
and they all have a medium, like you said. Yeah. Zap's got the Zippo, and Klaus has the knuckles, and Steven has the little cross on the bottom. Yep. I think Chain has the.
Well, Chain's a different thing, but we'll get into her because they explain Chain,
right?
And what her shtick is. Mm-hmm. But all their blood magic types are a little different in how they present it, and for whatever reason, Klaus's style, everything is named in German, which makes it feel even extra aggressive when he's saying his attack name.
Technique, because it and when we did the watch, we did it in dub. So it said the German, like, I like the sub, but the German hits better when it's in English, because that's kind of like a.
I will say, because I've seen it both ways. They do a good job with him on the sub too.
Okay.
Yeah, they do a good job. No complaints.
Right. And then so we get that episode wrapped up. We and we get introduced to the baddies, the vampires, right? So, and then we kind of go into
next episode,
which is kind of still on the vampire shtick, more or less. I want to say
no. We meet the true himbo of the team.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Deldro and Hummer this episode.
Yes. I forgot about those two. Yeah, those guys are hilarious.
So, episode 5 starts out, Zap and Leo are on the moped, driving through town, doing some errands, normal day-to-day stuff in Hell Salem slot.
Right.
And all of a sudden behind them is a massive metal vehicle that is literally just eating cars in front. It's got a whole mouth and everything, just chomp, 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 like a chain chomp on wheels.
Yep. And I think it's going after somebody.
Yeah, it's headed somewhere. It's very specific. This is not a normal everyday vehicle thing. Mm-hmm. And
Zap and Leo are caught in the middle of it, of course.
Yeah, they get caught in the middle and they're running the whole time. An explosion happens which knocks Leo off of the moped, and
he luckily gets caught on the outside of the freaking huge ass vehicle, right outside the window of it too, and that's who we see who's piloting it.
And we have another one of the 13 Kings of Despair.
The Queen.
This one's a little lolly girl though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, hanging out."
Literally.
And so she brings him in, ties him up. She's like, I need company anyway, so.
She's like, "Haven't you ever been in love?"
Right. She starts pestering him. She's like, "Tell me love stories. I need someone to talk to me about love. Love.
God, imagine just being tied up with Gossip Girl.
Yeah. And once again, we're having the problem of Leo is too normal. He's like,
I don't have a love interest. I'm sorry. Like all monotone.
There's a key event we glossed over, but
we did gloss over the introduction to antagonist, future antagonist.
Yeah. We'll cycle back there in a second.
Yeah, we will. Because we get a little bit more about him later on. But, so he's, locked in that room with Gossip Girl, and he's just like, I can't relate. I'm sorry.
And so our guys on the ground are like, great, now we not only need to find out what's going on, but we also need to get Leo back.
Mm-hmm. Again.
So that's the premise of the episode, and it almost seems
she's
like...
going after our Del Toro guy.
Yes.
Apparently, okay, so the one of the 13 Kings. This one apparently was in love with this other guy that got killed, and so what she did was
No, he was like a super violent entity kind of thing.
oh,
And
okay, okay.
And she loved everything about this guy's
But
personality.
didn't like the way he looked.
He was not eye candy.
No. No, I could see why, but what she did was so messed up. She basically took like, teen heartthrob looking dude, drained his body of all his blood, and put Del Toro's blood in his veins, and so Del Toro lives in his veins in his body. But the thing she didn't take into account was that guy's essence is still in that body too.
Yep, it's a very Eddie Brock Venom situation.
Definitely, that's what it really looks like too. It's kind of funny.
And Hummer, the human half of the equation, which you would think naming conventions it would be the other way, but we're here for it. We love Hummer.
Yeah.
Hummer is perfect background character. He's just very simple,
he's
absent-minded.
He's a Ken.
He's 100%.
If you've seen the Barbie movie, he's a Ken.
When it opens up, he's literally basically sitting in jail in a straitjacket, and Klaus
with a smile on his face.
Yeah, he's just happy. He's gonna be like, la la la, I'm here so I don't hurt anybody. And then Klaus and Steven walk in and is like, hey, it's time to work. He's like, okay, cool. What are we doing? It's like, you remember the girl that did this to you?
No.
Nope. Don't remember her. And Del Toro pops out of the scar on his arm. He's like, what do you mean? She's the whole reason we're... He's like, I kind of... Like that.
Oh, yeah.
You see very quick he's that kind of...
Yeah. Yeah. Very aloof. Very.
And so, before we get into the mission of how they rescue him with Del Toro, Captain Venom, we skipped the cold opening, which introduced a very important character.
Yeah, so we want to get into that one. So apparently, Leo
chilling at the hospital.
He's chilling at the hospital, and I can't. Was it from when after he got kidnapped, or was that?
Yeah, I don't remember if it was. I think this might be the cold opening to the Game Between Worlds episode where Klaus is playing.
Okay, something happened. He was in recovery then, and and while he was in this hospital, he makes friends with this girl out in this cemetery.
Yeah, which first off, super morbid. The hospital with the cemetery attached.
Yeah, I mean, this is New York City with monsters. Like we said, it's kind of bleeding out into our world, which is kind of cool, but it definitely dark. But we get to introduced to this girl character that seems to be kind of lighthearted and doesn't really have a care for the world, and she's stuck at the hospital apparently.
It was the episode ender.
That's what it was. Yeah,
because they're talking, introducing each other, and she's like, "I'm a ghost."
Yeah, and then he's like,
yeah, and so it ends the episode. It does a cliffhanger of
he has a
White.
digital camera.
Yeah, he's talking to White, and she's like, "I'm a ghost," and that's the episode cut. And then the next episode comes in with her saying that, and Leo's first response is, "Let's see if this is my eyes or if this is real."
And he uses his camera, and he's like, "Your picture comes out just fine." There's a metaphor that she's referring to, and we'll get into that later. It's really messed up.
But she ends up being a key figure.
Yeah.
Leo and her make fast friends, so it was important we had to go back real quick because the only reason I was able to remember that is when Leo's in the monster truck, when he's in the monster truck with Lolly Queen.
Mm-hmm.
When she's asking him about does he have anybody he loves, he has a couple quick flashbacks of White. And he's like, well, I wouldn't say this. He's doing the awkward teen thing.
Yeah, he's like I don't know what she feels, so I'm just going to go with the safe approach and say we're just bros. Like,
yeah. So that was what helped me remember how to get White back.
No, that's fine. I totally understand that, yeah.
So going back to the episode, we see Del Toro and Hummer, and it starts out with them getting out of the car in the streets. The big old car is coming.
They got to figure out how to stop this thing from continuing.
And so it's coming towards him, and I guess Queen Lolly has like a tracker or whatever. Something in the truck tells her he's here.
Mm-hmm.
And so she screams through the intercom.
He plays his bait, and I think Libra's setting up a trap for her. Yeah.
But he does the himbo thing the first time because it's coming like straight at him, and she's like yelling through the intercom. She's so excited.
Yeah.
And his first thought is he gets like really big buff like Venom when he lets his blood magic work.
Basically,
he gets like an exoskeleton
body armor. Yeah.
And so his first response when it happens is, "I'm gonna punch this thing." And we get a glimpse of how strong this character truly is because it looks like a gag anime. You have this gigantic monster of a truck, 10 times bigger. Yeah, and he just gets one punch. Pew! Literally, you get the arc and everything. I think they go chibi as it flies through the sky. And Deldro's telling him, he's like, "Why'd you do that? That was not the right answer.
You could have killed yourself, dude, and I need you to live."
And so guys come up with a new plan. They get a nice sectioned off area. It's chaos pandemonium. Mm-hmm. But as all things in this kind of thing, the good guys win. We see more of Deldro's strength on display, and that kind of takes us out of
I can't remember who helps him.
This one ends up being...
because I think
a lot of comm work. Because it's like...
Because Deldoro's like, wait, or no, it wasn't Deldoro. I think it was Hummer. That was like, wait a second, this isn't gonna work. Or somebody said that, and then he's like, make a bigger fist.
Yeah, he anchored himself.
Yeah, that was so funny.
Yeah, I think the key ones on this one were Deldora and Zap, maybe? Because I think Zap did the net to stop it from bouncing.
Because he has the thread.
Yeah.
Like, kind of art, if I remember correctly, yeah.
But, I don't know, the key focus ends up being Hummer and Deldro the whole time.
Yeah, because they saved the day, so.
Yeah, he's the focus the whole time. They kind of give you a little bit of his backstory in a very creative fashion. Very messed up origin for such a funny character.
Yeah, definitely. And then we get into... Well, I mean, we're kind of chaining the episodes here, like, just to kind of, like, stay consistent as we can here. Yep. But our next little short story in this, kind of a grand arc here, we kind of take, like, a stop and kind of are entering in a more somber type of feel.
This is the gut punch in the feels episode, and it has got me every time.
Yeah,
like even this too. Most last time I knew it was coming, and I was still like
yeah, the title of the next episode 6 here is Don't Forget Me, and that at first you're like, what?
Right, did they make a mistake with that title?
Right, you think there's some translation kind of thing lost kind of deal. No, watch it. But I'm sorry in advance.
Yeah, I apologize in advance.
Never gonna eat a burger the same way again.
No. So our episode starts out kind of like Clint said. We're taking a step away from the events of Libra.
Yeah, I think it's just
it's more
Zap
like no. This is just like a slice of life Leo episode.
Oh, okay,
is how this is presented.
Okay.
And so it starts out. Leo's walking through the city. He's doing his like Uber
everyday
Eats kind of job.
Yeah.
And he goes to this hamburger joint called Jack Rockets.
Yeah.
Apparently that's like the place to go.
No, he gets sent there that's where I got it. Zap sent his ass to go get him.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah, sorry.
So anyway, he goes to Jack's Rockets, and they're like super exclusive, like a burgers and frying kind of joint, but they will only serve to humans. They won't serve to
there's the little like racial line right there that I remember,
And so it starts out very ordinary. Leo's in line getting food, very normal.
Gets his food, and then he walks out.
Walks outside, and we are, before basically the cut, we see this character running across the street.
And then
screaming like
comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I think he's even like screaming like burger,
or
something.
And then Leo's like, huh?
Yeah, and so Leo looks, and this little dude gets smacked by a truck.
Boom, gets ping-ponged right off that thing.
It's very squishy, and Leo, being Leo, goes to check on the thing.
He's like, oh my god, are you okay? And then it's like, burger.
He's like, give me a burger. He's like, that's not the right thing. And then we follow that
and then
up
the two guys get out of the truck.
Two truck drivers pop out.
And then we get into the more... This episode starts to show, like, there's still a racial divide, even though we're coexisting.
Yes.
Like, kind of like how it is right now today, unfortunately. But, yeah, there's racial tensions of some kind. So they hit this dude. They're like, crap, we're already behind on time. We don't have time for this. He looks okay. We gotta go.
Right. And he kept, hearing this little dude go, burger, burger, burger. And he's like, oh, we have a leftover burger in the truck from lunch. Go get him that. Mm-hmm. And so truck driver B hands over the half-eaten burger to this dude. Looks like he's like a squishy black suit. He's very round, and it looks like a mushroom head.
Yeah, his head looks like a dumpling.
Yeah, exactly. And so little dumpling head takes the burger and is happily eating it. And the truck driver's going away. And Leo's like, dude,
are you kidding me?
That's half a burger. Like, he already ate it. Why are you doing that?
And they just hit you.
And he's like, I'm not hurt. Leo didn't give me his burger.
Yeah. Person who didn't give me his food.
Yeah. Apparently he names people by the interaction he has when he meets them. It makes me think of like how RuneScape trolls name themselves.
Right, but it makes more sense once you have like the consensus of why he has to do that.
But he's like, I understand, but like they won't serve that to me. So if nobody's gonna be nice to me, this is
the best what I can get.
And burgers are my favorite thing. All I want is a burger from that place.
Yeah, so Leo's like, I can buy you burgers from there. Like, why are you doing that?
Well, right, but he doesn't address it any further that time. They have the little like, awkward back and forth over not my burger.
Right.
And so we see him like the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Same situation. Leo's going to get the hamburgers, and he comes out and he sees Nedge. We introduced the character. His name is Nedge. The little
it's a long name.
Yeah, it's a
sorry. Yeah.
Nickname is Nedge from Mr. Mushroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so as Leo's coming back from getting burgers, he sees Nedge interacting with the two truck drivers again, and he's buying the cheeseburgers off of them for like 4 times the price.
Yes.
And Leo stands up for him. He's like, that's not right. You're ripping him off. Like, why are you doing this?
Right.
And they tell him to get stuffed and go back on their work day.
Right.
These two end up being the scumbags of the episode, which I appreciate the fact that after all the chaos of the last handful of episodes, they gave Leo like a very normal problem to handle this episode.
Semi-normal, yeah.
He's basically dealing with 2 bullies. That's this episode.
Yeah,
and me and
2 fellow human beings.
Yep. And so they go off. Nedge, Leo's talking with Nedge. He's like, hey, why, like, you get 4 times as many for that price. And Nedge is like, I know I'm not stupid, but they won't sell to me, so I have to accept whatever price whoever is willing to do it is asking me. Yeah. And Leo's like, oh, hell no.
This is done.
That does not stand by me. I'm going to get your burgers. You're going to pay exactly what it's supposed to cost, and we'll have lunch together every day. It's like, thanks, not my burger.
Yeah, so
Stop calling me that.
And we get a little montage of them doing that day to day for a few days, I believe, after that.
And different scenes of them eating in different places, building memories.
The park and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, they do it for, seems like a week or whatever. You get a lot of different stills. There's one of Nedge's weird traits is he eats a bite out of every single burger at the same time so that nobody else will want to take his burgers before
he claims it, yes.
And so there's like one where he's teaching, that you see in the montage where he teaches Leo how to do that. And they're like eating 4 burgers at a time. Just.
Oh, and he also, I think Leo asks him, like, do you like have any family or anything? And Nedge is like, not that I'm aware of. Like, he's like, I know I had somebody who gave birth to me, but That's it.
Logically, that must have occurred, but I have no memory.
Right.
And so it's kind of like the first little bit of like heart twinge. You're like, oh, poor character.
Sucks. But yeah, it gets further elevated after that, unfortunately. I'm trying to remember why the two goons come back.
So it is just like a random night. They're driving through the fog.
And they hit him again.
They hit him again.
Yeah.
And
this time, this dude's had enough of this. They got ragged on by their boss.
Yep, they just got ragged on by their boss because they were short money. You can just tell these dudes are like thugs. Mm-hmm. And they're in like a, hey, if you don't pay up, you're
gonna die
with the fishes. Yeah. And so they come back from that, and this is like a small thing, but it ends up being a big thing. Mm-hmm. Where apparently one of the two truckers has a problem holding his bladder when he gets afraid. Mm-hmm. And it is apparently a common thing that he pees his pants in the truck.
Oh, yeah.
So much so that his partner keeps a gas mask in the car.
Yeah.
And so partner pees himself. He's like, I'm not doing this today. Puts on the gas mask. So
and then while he was putting it on, I think he was like fidgeting with it, and that's when they hit the guy, I think.
Yeah, that's when they hit Nedge. And dude in the gas mask is just so... No, it's the other dude. One of them gets so angry at the situation. Like, we've hit you so many times now. Like, one of these days, like, no. And start just beating the ever-living crap out of him.
Yeah.
And you're seeing him get redder and redder. And dude in the gas mask is like, hey, you don't go too far.
Yeah, like don't kill him. Like, type of deal.
Right, you took your anger out. But... He keeps hitting him and hitting him.
And I think he finally, like, hits him, like, right through the, like, cut opening.
Well, he gets, like, more red and red until he ends up, like, popping.
Yeah. And spores come out.
Yep.
And these red spores have, like, kind of like an amnesia effect. So you breathe them in, you forget whatever's going on. Blank slate, completely.
And so... Our dude in the gas mask panics, grabs his buddy who is passed out on the floor.
I think it's probably poisonous at this point, yeah.
And they drive off. Mm-hmm.
Leave him Nedge behind, yes.
Yeah. And so...
Go to the next day.
Yeah, next day...
Leo looks around for him.
Leo can't find him, and we get a background scene of the two truckers, where... The dude who got inhaled the spores wakes up.
Yeah, he wasn't worried about anything anymore. He's like, dude, we have a job. And he's like,
no, we're good. He's like, do you not remember talking to the boss yesterday? He's like, what? No. He's got like, they don't explain the amount of time, but he's got at least a couple day lapse in memory. Mm-hmm. And I think it might even cut to like a Libra scene where there's like a news report of a bunch of people got hospitalized with short-term amnesia.
Yes.
I think there's like a scene with Klaus and Steven where like you just get that quick bit of information in the background. And so homie that was wearing the gas mask realized that dude's spores are an amnesia.
We're going to use that on our boss. Basically.
If we have that, we can do anything we want because nobody's going to remember it.
Right.
And so they
make plans to go and abduct that dude. Yeah. And this is where we get into the montage of Leo trying to look around for Nedge. And it's not until Leo remembers, oh yeah, Nedge told me he lived all the way down this street. Mm-hmm. And so he goes all the way down the street, and it's like ghetto, and it's dilapidated. Clearly, it's like homeless central down there, and goes further and further down the alley. And this is where he sees the two goons with Nedge tied up and just pounding on him to induce the spores, because they're going to try to collect these spores to harvest them, basically.
I don't remember how we get between point A and point B on this. All these episodes happen so quick. Mm-hmm. But between... sometime shortly after Leo figures out what's up, the two truckers end up knocking him over the head and tie him up. And so Leo wakes up inside the back of their oil tanker.
That's right.
Is all emptied out because their plan was they were going to
harvest the
spores and keep it contained in there. And so that ends up being like a super heavy moment.
Yeah, because Leo again is in that helpless state of watching somebody,
and he's like screaming, like you know how Leo feels this whole time, and it is just like, oof. And he's getting redder and redder, and we kind of have this epiphany at this point.
I think Leo tells him he tries to tell him think of your mother. It tries to calm him down.
Well, and that was what I was about to say. Was the point we realized that stress response is why Nej can't remember his mom. There was something traumatic at birth that he
made him forget.
Bored up and forgot all about it.
And then his mother forgot about him permanently.
And so that ends up calming Nej down. You see his
the color.
The color starts to dissipate. He goes back to white.
Yeah, and then the dudes are like, "What the heck?"
Right, and Nej is like, "I don't want to forget about you, Leo. You're like my only friend. You're the only person that's ever treated me."
And then I think Goon main Goon with the brains, obviously, takes out an aluminum bat, and he's like, "All right, no, we're getting those spores one way or another."
And so when they finally couldn't get a win there. I think the chain of events is they're wailing him, and then I think Leo tries to hijack their eyes for a second to get them to stop.
Yes, and then they're like, "All right, we're gonna beat you up now."
Right, you're freaky too, so let's just turn you offline. And so they go over and knock him on the back of the head with a bat.
And then this increases Nej's stress once again.
And it is 1,000 out of 10 explosion. His spore explosion. You have to just accept the world's weird and chaotic in this one because that small thing should not have produced that result.
Right.
This whole Salem slot.
Right.
Because you see basically Nej scream about to explode, and then you're put on the perspective of the truck viewed top down, and you can see
from the block. Boom. Yeah, blow up, and the whole block gets covered in that stuff. It is nuts. And then cuts, I want to say, and then
Leo wakes up in the hospital.
Yep.
And so Leo's up in the hospital, cannot remember anything for the last month. He knows his Libra people, but
so he got a really high dose of that stuff. So instead of a couple days, I think it was those whole couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
From the event, of even him going to get Zap burgers, he forgot about that too.
And so we get this exiting montage where Leo goes to
the burger place. Once again. Orders the same stuff.
And he comes out and he's eating a burger in the street and he has flashbacks of all the Nej scenes. Only Nej is not present in it. It's just Leo.
The flashback montage, but Leo doesn't know, or understand why at the time.
And I'm already getting, punched in the feels at this point, but this is my favorite anime trope is when they're crying and eating food. It makes me think of Trigun.
It's doing an activity that is would be an everyday activity, but it causes you grief for what out of nowhere. So for those who kind of understand a bipolar depressive type of mentality, it's kind of like that. It just hits you out of nowhere in a normal setting, and you're like, oh my god, what the heck? Why do I feel like this?
Right. And so he's like, a burger's never made me cry. And man, they really play it up for a good little amount of time. But props to the team, because they could have just let that one be a fucking sad one and end it out.
Mm-hmm.
But we get a full circle ending, and
Burger Boy comes back.
And we have Burger, we have hit by a truck, and this time Leo's like,
here.
Well, I don't know why I ordered for two, but here you go. And so
it's I don't understand, but let's eat. And they eat the same way, and they don't notice. Or he's like,
and so basically, we rebuild the friendship from scratch. Very beautiful ending, but it's
sad. Yeah.
It hits all the good and bad parts of the emotional trigger, like lump in your throat for sure.
Yeah, if anybody's seen the movie Coco, remember me? No, that's sad, dude. It's so sad. But yeah, let's not stay on the somber note. We got more episodes to go through this season, which are things start escalating from this episode. So like that's another great job in the first season that they did. They kind of just put this episode in the middle of the season, just kind of do a hard cut, and then it's like back in the action.
I was gonna say I didn't really think about it too hard that way as I was watching, but that is a good thing. Like instead of doing like your halfway point recap episode, they're like, here's a pause in the chaos. Like this is still chaos, but this is micro level, whereas we've been looking at the macro level the past couple episodes.
Right. And so so we get down into episode's called
No Holds Barred Eden.
This is where I think we get introduced to
this is Klaus round 2.
Yeah.
So this is like, in my opinion, like where Leo sees Klaus and what Leo would think is Klaus's true light for the first time. Like, they've worked alongside each other. He's kind of seeing what he can do in regards to the vampires, this, that, the other thing. But this ends up being, like, a really, I would say, cornerstone moment in that relationship.
So, yeah, Zap being his usual idiot self, he gets himself in a pickle.
Yeah, the episode starts out with Zap calling Leo on video phone.
Please hand the phone to Klaus.
And he's like surrounded with blades around his neck. Has like that
so
somebody's holding a sword in his mouth. He's just like, Klaus, please save me.
And Klaus gets up. He's like.
And so
Leo gets to tag along too.
Yeah, I don't remember why he decides to bring Leo, but he brings Leo. So this episode ends up being Klaus, Leo, and Zap for the key characters. Mm-hmm. And so they go to the address where Zap
some
left
kind of underground club. Yeah.
And just to start out at the gate had me dying. Klaus does traditional Japanese businessman to the bouncer at the bar. He's like, I'm Klaus von Reinhardt. Here's my card. and the dude at the gate, Natural's like, do you think I give a shit?
It's like, okay, what?
And he's like, okay, well then. And so you just see like the cloud of smoke rumble tumble in the background.
Yeah, and then he's like walking from it. He's like, we're good.
Like, all right, you may enter.
There was a quick fist fight real quick, and they're just like, all right, you're in.
Yeah.
Are you tough enough for the club?
Right. Are you tough enough for the salty spittoon?
That's exactly what it was.
That is exactly what that was. And Leo's like,
that just happened.
And so he quickly walks in behind him.
He's like, I'm with this guy.
And so as they're going through it, Leo's like, this is probably a trap, right? And Klaus is like, yeah, I know. But, like, that's my guy. I'm not leaving anybody. And so Leo's getting a little bit of extra admiration towards Klaus just from the
just
setup.
Seeing stuff, and he's got the integrity too along with it. He's seeing things through.
And so the doors open up, and it turns out to be like this underground cage match arena.
Yeah.
And so he literally just walks into the middle of the room. There's no one in the arena. Steps in the cage and starts shouting, "I'm here for my associate. Like, if you can give him back, I'll go home. Like, no big deal." Mm-hmm. And they're like, this is a bare knuckle boxing club. Mm-hmm. Everyone's here to see a show. If you want your friend back, put on a good show, and we'll give him back. If you lose, then he's...
Yeah.
And so Klaus is like, if I must. And
roll up the sleeves. All right.
He doesn't even roll up the sleeves at the first. Because they send like a human against him first, and he basically does that and ends it. It is over in a second. Yeah,
that was the fun part about it. Like, this gets brought up later in the fight. Like, Klaus isn't by any means a professional fighter.
No.
He just fights through grit and grit alone. He learns from his mistakes as he's going, basically, type of deal.
So, like 100%. If Klaus didn't have to fight, he probably wouldn't have to fight. But he's like 100% disciplined with everything he does. Mm-hmm. So like, there's no messing around. When it's time for action, it's time for action.
Right.
And so we're seeing Klaus just tearing through opponents, and Leo's in the background placing bets on Klaus every time. He's like, oh, this much.
You're right. Yeah, he's trying to get that money.
I wish I could know how much Leo made in that.
Oh, I know.
Because he was there from the start, and he bet Klaus every time. So if he just kept reinvesting that winning every time.
But here's the thing about Leo, which we will tie in later why Klaus likes him. Leo, every amount like he gets like paid either by Libra or whatever, he sends to his sister and leaves himself with hardly anything.
Yeah, he basically has a living stipend, and the rest of the money goes to the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he also wouldn't take a pay increase just for having a pay increase. He's like, nope, I want paid at my level.
Right.
And so Klaus is already kind of liking him for those reasons.
Right.
So yeah,
we get through the fights and everything,
and it's a lot of like still shots. You don't see too many detailed ones, but it is very cinematic, and you're just like,
right,
Klaus, all right, yes,
right. So Klaus is mopping the floor with every opponent at this point, and then like the mob or the big guy that runs the show is like, all right,
I want to get in on the action.
Yep, he's like, all right, this time you're facing me. And so we get to the hand-to-hand thing, and they're exchanging blows.
They take the time for the final fight, and they're going back and forth.
And like I said, and it was Zap that pointed it out, like, he's not a professional fighter. As you can see, he's taking blows as he's sending them, too. If anything, he's what you would consider a rank amateur.
Yeah. and it's funny too because they go in a little bit about how Klaus puts rules upon himself for like different things. So it's like not only is he a badass just out of like the sheer mountain of a man he is, but he's also willing to always put himself on challenge mode.
Yeah, he always wants to raise the stakes on himself, for sure. Like, think of Nuzlocke Challenge.
Right, and Pokemon. He's not vocal about it too. Like, he's not one of those like, worship me, I'm such a hard guy. He is the anti-David Goggins.
Yeah, that's definitely.
That is Klaus. Klaus is if we're going to the same end goal, he is like the opposite of Goggins.
Yes.
That might be the best analogy I've made for a character.
Yes.
So anyway, we go through the fight. It is a great one, and it ends up.
Klaus throws a lot in his punch because this dude head is just clean gone.
Yeah, Klaus is like, maybe I can finally not hold back.
He's like, and Klaus even goes like, he's like, whoops.
Record stop. And then after the heartbeat skip.
But then Leo sees something. He's like, wait a second.
No, everybody sees this. A little blood splurt comes out, kind of like Deldro did, where he's got a little face coming out of like the bottom half of the jaw, basically, is what's left.
Yes.
And it comes to find out that the boss he had been dead a long time. His body
got
was
hijacked by
a blood breed. Yep. Yeah. So Klaus was fighting an elder blood breed the whole time.
And yeah, that's when Leo's like, oh crap, it is. And you see the red flash and everything, and then it's like, gone.
Yep, and then he just leaves. He's like, that was the most fun I've had in a long time. Bye. And, you get the nice view of Klaus in there. And so we exit the episode with Zap. I can't believe we hadn't mentioned this before, but much like how Chain's running trope is she's always going to enter the room by standing on top of Zap's head, Zap always enters the room trying to do a sneak attack on Klaus.
Yeah.
Zap's number one mission, aside from being a delinquent,
is always try to get one over on Klaus. And this was all an elaborate scheme. He's like, oh, no, he was telling Leo's like, how did you even get in this mess? He's like, no, this was all an elaborate ruse. I wanted to get caught because now he's tired.
And if there's ever a window for me to do it, it's right now. And he jumps, and you just hear in the background,
folded, dude.
Klaus takes it in stride like nothing happened.
Like a normal day, how it always ends up of him just getting absolutely folded. But yeah, so that was that episode. Now, from here on out, and that was a little side tangent too. Honestly, it didn't really give us too much in the main story, but did give us like, oh, there's more Elder Bloods out there, bah.
Yeah, there's that. We not only got there's like the elder breeds have their own unique personalities and might not play as expected kind of thing. But we also, I think my key takeaway for this above everything else was like, this was I feel
Klaus
like where
episode.
Leo really had his eyes open to Klaus. Like that was, I feel like Leo's...
Yeah, because he didn't watch the chess match, so he wasn't there for that. And KK already knew what Klaus was about because they've worked for a little while already.
Yeah, I think that ends up being like the real key moment where he was like, okay, yeah, as long as I can try and be like that man, I will probably end up okay. So he's definitely like
becomes Leo's idol.
Yeah, he's definitely like the father figure kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
So following that up, we get a nice two-parter. And we get a new character and a unique blood breed situation.
Yeah. I think this is where... I mean, up to this point, there were hints of it, but White has a twin brother.
Yes.
And we just get snippets of those two kind of interacting. But we know that they're brother and sister, but
we do end up getting our first interaction with Leo... White and her brother, who we find out is named Black.
Yeah.
So Leo, Black, and White in these next two episodes tie together called Zed's Longest Day. And we end up getting introduced to White's twin brother Black at the hospital.
And there's a quick thing because Leo has already met Black, but that wasn't Black. So when Leo first sees him, he's like, "Oh yeah, I met you," and he's like,
"Have you?
Have you?"
Yeah, because as the viewer, we remember back to that first episode.
Yeah, because we're just as confused at that part. Vampire. If you're watching that for the first time, we're like, "Yeah, like why don't you remember?"
Yeah, you get that undertone of okay, something's going on here,
right?
And so. That aside, Leo and Black become fast friends as older brothers, basically, with headstrong sisters.
Right, yeah. They have some connection, and they start to bond and everything, and I think that's when Leo lets it slip, like, yeah, your sister made the joke of, like, she's a ghost. And that's kind of how we bonded, and then he's like, what did she say?
Yeah, we come to find out that both Black and White are the children of sorcerers
that did the seal, I believe, on the Hell Salem's Lot.
And White didn't get any powers, and Black got it seems like a limited kind of psi power.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, he has Esper powers, yeah.
Yeah, it's shown by...
well, actually, he has a heightened ability because she got absolutely nothing. He got everything.
Yeah.
Like, he became, obviously, the yang to yin or whatever, basically.
But we don't know this yet, because the introduction to his powers, him and Leo are eating at the diner, and someone trips the waitress, and she goes to spill coffee on him.
Yeah, and he's holding the coffee up for a long time, and he's just like...
And it still spills on Leo, but Leo had like a minute and a half to get out of the way.
Right, and he was too busy talking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he should have taken his window and moved to the other side of the booth, but...
Right.
So, that ends up being a key event that plays big into the end of the season.
Right, so, yeah, they're starting to get well acquainted to her brother. Like, right, yeah. That's right.
And so then we're dragged into... We open up with some Zap debauchery. He goes to whatever the KFC knockoff is. And this one, it's very obviously the KFC knockoff. There's no way you can't miss that. But he's going to the knockoff KFC. And apparently the chick behind the counter is just a blonde bombshell. And Zap is head over heels for her. And so he ends up...
Oh, wait, There's a reason. Zap's eating a lot.
Yeah. Zap gets really fat because he's going and ordering chicken every day.
He wears the same outfit.
Yeah, he wears the same outfit. He's just like all belly.
Gut, dude.
Yeah. Stupid. He almost looks like Carl from Aquitaine Hunger Force.
No, he looks like freaking Dante from Devil May Cry with a beer belly just sticking out.
You went. So yeah,
But yeah,
he
he's going
gets
to fast food all the time.
gets fat trying to get this chick's number, so he orders chicken every time to have an excuse to talk to her.
And she thinks he's an absolute creep.
Yep.
Of course.
That ends up being relevant later. So we're brought into the office. The team gets called out because there is half of a zombie or half of a vampire terrorizing the town.
Right. And instead of Chain stepping on Zap's face, she steps on his beer gut.
Yep. Which was the most awkward bend on that scene.
Right. That had to kill him, too. He's like, get off.
I love all the gag frames in this one. It's extra.
But yeah, half of a freaking vampire is causing some chaos. Wait, when they... Was it the defense mode for it? Because they turn into what looks like the Baylet from Berserk.
So they go on the offense first, and it's like it looks like a slime monster basically at the start. It's kind of humanoid-esque, but Libra does enough damage that it has to revert to its basal form, which, like you said, looks like the Baylet. Just egg with eyeballs everywhere.
You can't get close because it will kill you.
Yeah, and it'll, it's defensive mode while it's basically regenerating.
This is why they're hard to kill.
And so, while our...
Zap's trying to kill it, I think.
Libra... Yeah. No, I remember. I get a little bit off. Our heroes and Libra end up... When they find it, somebody else is already engaged with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The half of vampire, it turns out, is being messed up by what we can tell is basically a yellow towel with a stick.
Yeah, it's a blur. You can't even... It's so quick.
And so this thing ends up fighting it.
And he's running the whole time. He's like, get away from me.
And so he ends up knocking it down. And so while it's in its little Baylet mode, Klaus and everybody introduces to this character. And we find out this is kind of a friendly, neutral character, basically. And it is like a god of a blood-bending style or like a master of it, like a true master, because all those blood-bending techniques are from the Ultra world.
Right, and I think this is the one that taught Zap.
Yeah. Yes, and we find out that this is Zap's tutor.
And Zap is literally freaking out, right? Like, in a bad way, because this dude put him through hell.
Yeah, and you get lots of chibi version stills of him being tied up, held over a running river, and just all the crazy things he did to him. And Zap is genuinely horrified the whole time. And with what we've learned about Zap to this point, with how much of a hedonistic degenerate he is, the fact that he is acting this adversely, that must have been some, he is a you have to be so badass to be that kind of person in the
to make somebody change character in a 180 like that.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, I wouldn't even be here if my dumb pupil would train and do his stuff. And he basically gives
gotten fat,
right? Yeah, and you can't understand his language. He's like,
right. It's kind of like a filter over his voice, pretty much.
But they give you the translations of all of it, and he is just crude, smack talking. He does not like Zap. What does he do? Yeah, he uses his blood and takes over Zap's body and uses him as a marionette. And
so
he's literally shit talking Zap out of Zap's own mouth.
And then Leo's like,
yeah, Leo's soaking it up for sure.
Yes.
And Zap's in tears. I imagine it's a whole different kind of thing in that situation.
But and I think
he's like, Klaus, I'm disappointed. Look at what you let my pupil become.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take him
be fat.
I'm gonna take him back with me, and I'm gonna get him whipped back in shape. And
of course,
Zap's like, no. And he's like, okay, well, if you can blind the Baylet, all know that your powers are sufficient enough. We don't have to take you.
And then Zap's like, well, there's no way, dude. Like, you have to be super fast and all that stuff.
Right, it's one of those, because like once you get within like a foot of it, it's on the auto defense trying to attack you.
And it's like split second fast. Like, if you ain't fast, you're gonna die before you even know it.
Yeah, our normal humans in town is like before you blink, you're dead kind of thing.
Yep.
And the other kicker is it's got like eyes on all sides of it so that it can see any version of attack. And so to be successful, you have to hit all of them at the exact same time. Can't even be a nanosecond apart.
Yep.
And so Zap's having all his doubt because he's like, if I mess up, it's going to attack and kill me. Well, teacher's like, well, if you die, you die. And he puts him in a barrier. He's like, you're not allowed to come out until you've done the thing.
Right.
And so homie's sweating, like, And this was where we get to see a little bit extra of Chain's intelligence. And this one had me dead, but I'll let you tell it.
Wasn't it like she was on the phone?
Ring, ring, ring,
like,
ring.
Hey, I know that's my friend from so-and-so, and she's was like telling me about...
Chicken Hut girl? Oh, yeah, you want Zap now?
Yeah, and then Zap is just like, himbo strength 1,000.
Yep. All his horny energy activated, and he took care of business.
He did his job.
And to prove the point on that, it goes to like his teacher's point of view, who apparently sees in heat sense, and you just see all of the blood on his crotch. So you're like, yep, Zap was...
Yeah, his master's probably like, oh my god.
And so he goes over, picks up the phone, and it's like, the time is now. ...
She wasn't even talking to him.
So hats off. So we find out as Leo's trying to figure out what the name of the Bayolet is, because apparently it's a little hard with not having the whole thing there.
Yeah, once it's in that form, you can't. I think you can't peer or
there's
something.
some hiccup with this half a thing in a Bayolet mode, and we end up finding out that apparently the other half is inbound and coming this way.
Yep.
And so we briefly skipped over earlier that there's only one way in and out of Hell Salem's lot.
Yeah, there's like a bridge going to New York City.
If you try to fly into the cloud, your airplane just blows up. I don't know what the deal is, but that's the deal.
Yep.
And so we start the B part of the episode with the view of some new yet to be announced character in the cockpit and the torso head portion of this vampire guiding the plane, which I don't even know what to say on that one. Like,
it's just so out there, man.
Okay. Like, I've already suspended so much disbelief for this show. Like,
right.
Okay.
Anything goes now.
Yeah, but like,
yeah.
So anyway, the vampire figure-headed airplane drives into the dome, blows up, gets conveniently, crash lands into the Bayolet, and we get both parts rejoined.
Trying to rejoin, yep.
And so this one we're introduced to the other character on the plane. This dude steps out, and we come to find out that Zap's master had taken another student because I guess the Zap style of that technique,
the Blood Dipper,
Blood Dipper, worked around a fire elemental, but his master could use both fire and air elementals. And so he berates the ever-living crap out of Zap. He's like, well, if you could have just learned the whole style, I wouldn't have had to, to take another student. And Zap's like, well, it's pretty much impossible for humans to do what you just asked. You have been alive for eons to do what you can do. And so we meet Zap's the other side of his
pupil.
coin. Yeah. And dude's a merman. He's a walking fish boy.
Yeah, basically think the mermaid dude from Hellboy.
Yes, exactly. But buff.
Yeah.
And his version of the style is he uses like tridents.
Yeah,
So Zap
he's
does
got
like
the trident,
everything's
yeah.
like a katana style.
Yeah,
Influence.
Zap's kind of like critiquing the dude as he sees his technique. He's like, nice trident. Oh, I can see you share the blood dipper technique as well.
Yeah, and after that first one, you end up very quickly realizing, oh, these two are super adversarial. So like how Zap is like super obnoxious, like fighting is his love language towards Leo. It's like times 30 in regards to this character. We end up finding out, but heroes team up, save the day, and
Master helps out a little bit. He's crazy.
no, he observes. He's like,
oh yeah, he's waiting
like,
because he wants his people to show it.
yeah, he's like, there's two of you here, deal with it. And so Zap, and we learn the Fish Boy's name is Zed.
Zed.
Zap and Zed. So our guys take it out. They do a combo play where between the air and the fire, they basically make a bellows and super torch him, and then Leo gets the name, and they seal him, and it's all good.
Yep.
And then the master goes, all right, Klaus, I'm just going to leave him in your care, and vanishes. And
and he's
Zed's
like,
what?
And they're like, what? So yeah, now we get a new addition to Libra. And then during those arcs, we find out about White and Black's childhood.
Yes, we get tidbits about that in the background.
So, like, just kind of how we know how Leo had his weird
with
paranormal standoff with the god. Black and White apparently had a run-in with something paranormal as well.
Yes.
We later find out what it is, but I won't say anything right now. But in this exchange, of course, Black comes in, or White is trying to come in, and Black's like, no, stay away. Flash happens. Big blue flame entity is like basically in the middle of those two, and then Black is telling it like, no, if you need hands to do your work, take my body, leave her alone. So it's like, okay.
It's like the opposite of Leo's situation, where with Black and White, Black took the bad end of the deal, so White didn't have to deal with it. So they're, as far as the storytelling device is going, it's very mirror image situations for this.
Yeah, there's similarities.
And you're starting to see that something with that deal is not as nice as what Leo ended up with.
And then it kind of leads into that, and to the end of that episode where you see the other side of Black. It's not Black. And that kind of plays into, like, now it snaps it together when you think back, like when Leo's like, hey, I remember you, and he didn't remember because Leo was talking to the other version on the subway.
Yep. Yeah, well, he's got like a very split personality.
Yeah, it's two people living in that body. I mean, it's another thing in Black himself, for sure. And White's keeping that under wraps the whole time.
Yeah, White is being super secretive about everything. So, next episode, I almost feel like they just leaned into the lunacy that is the world they've built.
Yeah.
Because as far as I could tell, minus the last scene, so this episode's called Run, Lunch, Run, to the End.
Yeah, so that's the episode they go to fast food. Like, they can't decide where to eat, and Zap doesn't like Zed, and he doesn't want to agree with stuff he likes. He's like, no, we're going somewhere else.
Yeah, so we start out, and Leo's like, I'm hungry, and then it's like, let's go get food. So it's, like Clint said, it's Zap, Zed, and Leo for the episode. And Zap is using food as a means to haze Zed.
Yeah,
so,
first place they go to.
Yeah, every place they go to is just terrible.
No, the first place was a fish place, and he's like, you can't eat your own kind. He's like, what are you talking about? Fish eat each other all the time, dude.
Yeah, that's right. And he's like, all right, I got to up my game. So they just start going weird places, and they spend all day, and it just gets progressively worse. Like one place it tries to eat them, like they try to go to a clam chowder place, but it's apparently a clam place where the
She's
food
like, I thought,
eats you.
Yeah, the waitress is like, oh, I thought you said clam abada. They're like, what?
So it just gets progressively worse, and I think my personal highlight for the episode is is you get to see more of Leo being a weird kid about things.
Yeah.
And he hallucinates to the god of Chow.
Yeah.
He gets so hungry that he starts hallucinating that he's like, "We've been cursed. We've been using food as a punishment, and now the god of Chow has cursed us. We're never gonna eat."
And this is the god of Chow. It's some huge gluttonous being.
Yeah, it was great. And so Zap's like, "Oh no, we really gotta get him somewhere to eat now."
Yeah,
So
he's fading.
and so and then in the background, our homeboys in Libra are fighting some, the daily world-ending catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
It's just background noise at this point.
Yeah.
And for me, that ends up being the big go of the whole episode is it's just they're trying to find food.
There's one
until
place
the end scene.
scene. And then my favorite place, since you mentioned yours, my favorite place is when they show up and it's like a bloodbath, like a murder happened. And they're like, "Hey, you guys just stopped in at the right time. We had a client that did not agree with us, and so he's our special for today. You want some?"
Oh yeah, the whole bit's funny, but the whole episode just feels like a gag.
It's an outrageous episode for sure.
They kind of do the same thing at this point, like they did a few episodes back with the Nedge episode, where it's like, here's a different kind of break in the chaos, with the technically slice of life of them trying to get fast food.
Right.
But at the end, we cut back to Black, and we find out his alter ego is the
king of despair. The Blue King.
Apparently, he's the ringleader, because when he walks in the room, everybody shuts up and listens to him.
Obviously one of the elder beings, for sure. And
so we wrap out the lunch episode with finding that little bit out, and that's all I remember from that one. And then we go into episode
the second part of
10.5.
Right.
So I have to give my hats off to how they designed this. Usually recap episodes are the bane of everybody's existence.
Right.
Especially I watched this one as simulcast for my first watch through of it. So I watched it when it went up in I think 2018.
Yeah.
But I was doing that one daily or weekly, and it always sucks when you've been invested every single week.
And then they throw you a recap.
And it's
just dude.
Bro, I've been on for this whole ride. Did we have to?
Just give me a sign, dedicated watcher. You can just skip through this.
But I would say this one is
No,
definitely worth it with how they present it. Because they frame it through the lens of Leo explaining his experiences as
to his sister, I want to say.
No, he calls a radio show. It's like a I don't know. He basically goes to teledoc on the radio. He's talking to
you
Fraser
don't know
Crane.
it's his voice at first, and then you listen and you're like, that's Leo.
Yeah, he uses the name Tragedy of L.
Yeah. He's like, man, my life has just been freaking crazy.
And so you get your recap episode as him describing using vagaries because he's in a secret society, so he can't say too much. And he's like, I don't have anybody to talk to, but I need to talk about something so I can move forward and this, that, the other thing. And so a lot of times he'll try to explain a little bit, and then he'll start hyperventilating, and you'll get the cut of the episode that he's referencing.
And he gives them nicknames too. I think everybody in Libra gets a nickname.
Yeah, and so it was a fantastic way to retell what has already happened.
Yeah,
because on top of it too, because it'll get to points where he'll get overwhelmed and start hyperventilating. So the radio DJ comes in and he's like, "Well, while we're waiting for Tragedy of L to get his shit together, we're gonna cut to this song," and you get a nice little music break, and it'll throw in a couple more things. So they don't actually directly say at any point in the episode, this happened, then this happened, then this happened,
no,
then
it's
this
just
happened.
Him retelling it.
Yeah, it was just, this is what I felt of what happened.
And for each, well, not for each, but every few, the song changed, I want to say. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was another cool part of how they designed that episode, too, because every couple episodes, the theme changed and everything kind of paired up well with what was being told.
And I really love, too, that for the end of the episode, the radio announcer cut out to the outro. And he's like, and now to finish it off with Unison Square Garden.
Step.
Anyway, something Sugar Step and Bitter Song, something.
Yeah.
Anyway, they cut to that perfectly.
Sugar Song, Bitter...
Sugar Song and Bitter Step.
Yeah.
That's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they do it, too, because it actually starts with the cold opening. Mm-hmm. So, for that
Bump
first
of Chicken,
one,
yeah.
they're like, and we're going to cut to Bump of Chicken with Hello World. So, like, the whole time, you're just feeling like you're in a radio show. And I was like, 10 out of 10. Like, I don't typically think...
The show does a good job of the ambience and that, and immerses you in there.
Yes, and it doesn't spoon feed it to you at any point. No. Like, you're along for that ride, but at no point are they going, okay, little baby, now A plus B equals C. No, you're like, I hope I catch something. Like I said, I've done this 4 times now, and I still
find new stuff.
It's great.
Yeah.
So
really great recap episode. I would suggest trying to watch it, at least for the sake of having it on in the background, because I can listen to that the whole thing and still get a kick out of it, because it's like you said, it's like listening to a radio show while you're driving your car, and you're just gonna laugh while what you're doing, whatever, and then that's going on in the background. You're like, what the fuck is going on? So great recap episode, but then we get out of the recap episode and we get to our climax into this season. The big picture starting to now appear here.
Yeah, this is definitely they build it up to definitely a fever pitch at this point. Mm-hmm. But they still keep the unique storytelling where like everything still feels pretty standalone. Mm-hmm. But what I will say is like episode 11 and episode 12 are like A and B.
Yeah, I would say, this show does a lot of like A side, B side type of deals with its episodes. So some of them are paired.
And so I would definitely say that is what's going on with 11 and 12. Mm-hmm. And before like we even geek out any about details, I have to talk about the fact that they did the reverse pilot. Yeah. Did you notice that the finale is 45 minutes long? Like, they went to town. Like, they could have not done a season 2 with how they exited it. But I didn't think they were going to.
I actually like the 45 minutes, though. That was one heck of a story. Like, think of this whole show, like, you won't realize it, like, being the first-time watcher, but this whole show is basically Leo's retelling to his sister.
Yep.
And it isn't until the very last episode where it was like kind of concurrent events in a sense. But even then, he's sending a letter at the end of that one too, I think.
Yeah, it's like this was the most recent thing that happened to me.
Right. And basically, it's from Leo's perspective, but we're also getting told the story like kind of like his sister's perspective, I guess, in a sense. Yeah,
the lens bounces a little bit.
Yeah, it gets wider, if you will. But yeah, so episodes 11 and 12, like basically 11 is the build up to 12. We get the background history to White and Black and see the tragic events. Or actually, we see a little bit of their slice of life and like how they were as children. There's the duality of them, but I think their father's like, well, you guys are the same to me.
Right. So
type of deal.
As we were going into this episode, I was really trying to think hard how to address the end of this season for this show. So like I said, they did such a good job that this could have just been a one and done 12 episode wham bam.
Yeah.
Season 2 is good. It's so worth your time, but it wasn't necessary by any means. They extended the right way, but we'll cover that next week.
Yeah.
But I had fully, like I said, I simulcasted it first go, so I fully expected at
the
end
episode
that
11,
was,
yeah, like I got you.
It's very satisfying. I'm like, if everything was like that, like if we went that
if we're going on that sense, then episode 11 was kind of a tease. Then
yes, yeah, because like. By the end of it all, especially before I knew there was going to be a season 2, I was like, if every like new anime would like just go this hard and be done, I would be cool with that. I don't need 900 episodes.
You can read the manga type of deal.
Yeah, I want some more quick ones.
Right.
But so I'm gonna try and go through key events for this one, maybe.
Yeah, I'll try to fill in the gaps
if there's anything, if there's anything that we want to geek out about, but just kind of the quick synopsis, because for me, even though these last 2 episodes tie together as basically a master.
Well, basically,
2 hour. It's a 2-hour event, basically.
Right, and this is where we see
hour 15.
We see Leo come full circle as a character too.
Yes, so you're looking about hour 15 for this chapter because this event is all the same, and so we start out where the King of Madness, King of Despair, little Black's alter ego, King of Despair, tells White, if you want your brother back, I need Leo's eyes. And she hands him like these weird ass glasses, and she's like, you're gonna take his eyes from me. And when I looked at those glasses the first time, my brain thought extractor.
That's what I thought too. They really look steampunk Wicking looking. They got screws sticking out the freaking side. They don't look like glasses at all. They look like a torture device.
Yeah, for sure. And so Leo and White are in the church, and they kind of give a little backlog. And
there's a lot of, like, in that episode 12, for me, it was kind of jarring. And I might have, like, for me, because it kind of did, like, a skip out, like, kind of thing. Like, they were in the church, they're out of the church, in the church, out of the church.
And they kind of time hop a little bit in this one.
So you're going to have, maybe watch it another time. Like, I would say probably, because that was jarring for me. It was probably just episode 12. You don't have to rewatch 11. 11, it's pretty straightforward. 12, that time hop was jarring. I'd probably recommend watching that twice, even though it's 45 minutes long. It's kind of worth it to me, honestly, with how it ends.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so they do the time hop thing.
And so, yeah, you kind of get to see different perspectives, but it ends up...
The key points were...
So they put the glasses on Leo. Leo goes unconscious. I don't remember if he gets whacked on the head, what. But
I think those glasses, like, short circuit his eyes or something. Yeah. To where like he can't use them or he can't see. He can't see anything.
He went unconscious because he ends up... he wakes up in, like, a crypt, is what it feels like.
Right.
With Black's alter ego... transmitting him to the whole town, basically.
Well, he gives a long-winded speech.
Yeah, he goes on his villain monologue, and it turns out that Despair, the King of Despair, is a demonic entity that has existed before humanity and has been watching the whole time, and there's always been like an envoy of Despair.
He gave me Lucifer vibes.
Yeah, you
Fallen Angel.
Yeah, you
basically.
See him like taking over like gladiators, like
he was
World War II stuff,
and stuff like that. Yeah,
it shows all the worst parts of humanity, and so he wants to
kind of, I guess,
fuse the worlds, make it one big blob of chaos. You never really understand
senseless. Well, I mean, to us, senseless destruction.
Yes.
To them, just it entertains me. So
it definitely, till the end, they keep the message of there are just things you're not going to know, and you have to accept it. That's how this weirdness goes.
Yeah, because they're old beings, so of course we're not going to comprehend something they've collected and established well throughout the time. So his plan is he's going to drop the barrier and just let Earth get sucked into the Ultra world, and whatever happens, but he hopes that he gets to go out with a bang. That's a big thing. Mm-hmm. He's basically bored. That's what it is. He's just like, I'm tired of this. Like let's just end it, you know?
And so, thanks to Leo's eyes, he's able to do crazy magic, and he breaks the barrier.
The seals, yeah. Yep. Except for one. And there's one. So all the sorcerers come together, and they're like, oh my god, we have to repair the freaking seals. Like, there's one left. Where is that seal? And then we get a little more of their backstory of the two children again.
Yes, and a little bit about the sorcerer culture and everything.
Mm-hmm.
We also get a nice jump over to Steven and Klaus, who are talking about what it was like 3 years ago when the same thing was happening.
Yeah, so Hell Salem's Lot / New York City was when the first collapse happened, right?
Yep.
Yeah. everything looked like that other world in New York City. It was all just
super dense fog. The world getting all like turn.
This building is up here. Kind of mirror
like
image of the
Breath of the Wild, just floating islands and stuff
that
from buildings.
Yeah, wild stuff.
But they're talking about. I was like, it feels totally different this time. I don't think it's gonna be as bad.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, something's different. This isn't like a natural occurrence. Is what they're figuring out. Like, obviously somebody's doing this, but they are hesitant to do it in a sense.
Mm-hmm. And so, after opening the gate, Black King of Despair goes off, and apparently has used too much of his powers, and he kind of passes out. He takes a nap. And then the King of Madness, sometime later,
confronts Leo.
Yep, confronts Leo. He's like, basically, quit being a little bee. Like,
yeah, he kind of like gives him a pep talk in a sense.
Yeah, in
a
his
way, which
depraved
is kind of
manner.
Right, because he doesn't really like the King of Despair. Like, they don't like each other, I guess. Like,
yeah,
they're just like... it's all the crap talking he was doing that the King of Madness didn't like. He's like, while I'm all for entertainment and everything, I don't want the world to end. I think is what he was coming from.
Yeah, he's like, there's too many shenanigans to pull still, so we need to not do what he's doing. Yeah. So I'm going to take the glasses off your face. Up is that way. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so, Leo walks the stairway to heaven. He goes through the fog and a million steps.
He's going through self-doubt and everything. Like, what can I do in this situation? Like, all that type of deal. I'm all alone again. Here I am by myself. I don't have anybody else with me. Then he remembers Klaus.
Like, as long as you got one little bit of light you can see and you head in the right direction, that means you're a man. Mm-hmm. And he saw it, that little tiny doorway up
all the way to the stairs.
It kind of made me think of like a positive version of that scene from Cowboy Bebop where Spike's all tripped out on mushrooms walking up the stairs.
Just walking in place.
kind of reminded me of that.
That was funny when they panned out and showed him that, but another time. But yeah, so he's walking up the steps and slowly becoming a man.
Yep. So pops out the other side, and he's
in
like,
the crypt, and he's looking around. He's like, "What's going on?"
World's weird, and so he's like, "All right, I'm gonna stop this because that's what I do. Apparently, I'm part of Libra." Mm-hmm. And so then the rest is just basically an insane Sonic the Hedgehog level of Leo getting to where the King of Despair is at.
Yeah. Okay. So how did he get there?
So King of Despair basically makes his throne on a building ripped up out of the ground, and he's standing on top of the building, and Leo's like, I have no clue how I'm going to get all the way up there. I'm just a normal dude, but that's what I got to do. Right. So starts running into town, and along the way we run into all our friends from Libra, and it's kind of like a relay race where Zapped and Zed helped get him from point A to point B. Chang got from point B to point C, and so they hand off Leo each step of the way. Yeah,
he gets driven by Gilbert too, I think.
Yep, everybody helps him to get to the top, and even Zap reinforces that lesson along the way. Is like, dude, we're here for you. Lean on us. Like, you're not gonna get there by yourself. You're
right, exactly.
Kind of lucky, but you're just a normal dude with some crazy eyes.
Right.
So, lean on us. And so they get him all the way up there. Meanwhile, while Leo's fighting to climb the tower, Klaus is already up there doing his thing, and he's going toe-to-toe with the King of Despair. Klaus the Rock cannot be brought down.
No, but what was happening...
Pummeled.
So, the fight started out kind of weird, because Klaus knows... Yeah, there's a little tidbit of information that happened. So they know of those two children because the sorcerers were two famous sorcerers that helped with the seals, and they're like, where are those kids? We need them. Or we need the one that knows, which was Black. And so Klaus gets that intel from that sorcerer team of who that is, and they're like, we need that child. That's when Klaus finds out, oh, there's a freaking elder being inside of you. And the elder being's like, yeah, and I will kill this vessel if I need to. So
yeah, so
threatens to kill himself. Klaus is like, nope, and takes the hits full on his body.
mm-hmm.
The
So
whole
he
time.
have like a reflective property or something like that.
Yeah, where he's trying to protect that dude from killing his vessel.
It's the first time we definitely feel like Klaus is at a disadvantage this whole show.
Right.
This is the one time where you're like,
because he doesn't know the name, can't seal the being.
I was like, I don't know what the answer is, but Leo
even
needs
after
to
season 1 too. I mean, I think it's still at that point like he has that fight, and that's like one of the hardest fights I think Klaus has had, honestly, because he's like you said, at a disadvantage. I can't punch my way out of this one.
Right. I can't kill the kid. He's the sorcerer.
So while that's occurring, Leo, I think is
Leo's doing the relay up the building, and so Leo finally gets to the top, and we get dialogue between him and the King of Darkness. It's like, basically, you're going to have to end me somehow, or this doesn't stop. And Leo thinks it over, and we get the dialogue like, hey, I don't know what the right answer is, and I'm gonna be mulling this over my whole life, kind of thing. But he ends up deciding what he is gonna try to do is basically talk no jutsu to him and emotionally manipulate his way to get Black to take back over instead of being asleep.
Right, because he knows that Black is in there as well.
And we haven't seen White up to this point. We keep seeing like a little butterfly flying around, but we haven't seen White for a second.
Right. Last thing I know is like when she was like, she was like outside of town or something somewhere, and her sickness came back.
Yeah,
she had a heart condition.
When her and Black are in the chapel, she has her heart condition, and then it like pans back, and it's like just her necklace there. So you're like, what happened? Like, doesn't make sense.
Right.
So we come to find out that White is actually the living embodiment of that last aspect of the seal.
This is where we were foreshadowing, like where she said she's a ghost. Technically, she is, because that's the thing that seal's keeping her alive.
Mm-hmm. Her parents basically did like a Lily Potter thing to them.
When she was born, she was dead on arrival.
Yep.
And they used taboo, because you're not supposed to do that, to seal and keep her alive.
And so, basically...
And that's how they got away with it, because they're like, oh yeah, we'll make the next seal, and they used their own child.
Yeah. And so, because the parents died in the first incident 3 years ago.
In the first Great Collapse, yeah.
So, Leo, he gives his speech. You're all, like, proud of your boy. And he just starts screaming for White. He's like, I know you're somewhere near. Like, you need to show yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't come, like, everything's going to go bad. And his scream to the void is heard. White appears, which triggers Black to take back over in the body. Yeah,
because he doesn't want the demon to do anything, because he's like, remember, that's our deal.
Yeah, because Leo uses his eyes. I forgot this part. So he uses his eyes and he looks at Black while the king's in position.
And he sees the split.
Yeah, because
two souls.
At the moment where it was like, if I kill you, this ends it. But then he sees, and he sees Black inside. He's like, I don't want to die. Like,
yeah.
And so that's what inspires the guttural yell. And White shows back up, and they end up using her life force basically to fix the seal, because she was already bonded to it, so to speak.
Right.
So they just made her the thing. And
didn't she use like some of that power to like force that entity out of Black, I think too? So. Yeah, because there was some kind of moment where she was like hugged him. Yeah. Because he was like crying, and boom.
So yeah, they fixed the barrier. They purged the King of Despair from Black. But White does not make it out.
Yeah, so she, unfortunately, her life is forfeited once that seal was redone. Because technically it was broke for a split second.
And so Day was saved. Boy grew. Black got to go on. You see a little exit clip of them talking over like a video chat. And he's like, yeah, I can't be in this town for a while, so I'm going to go elsewhere for a bit, do some sorcerer work. I'm going to embrace that finally.
Yeah, he becomes one of the sorcerers of the society.
And we get like a nice little cut action sequence going out, some flashes to everything, but there are not a lot of reverse pilots like that. I can't think of another one that went that hard for the final episode.
The very ending is why I want the season 3, because as you like it pans out, you see the town, and then you see a dude walking in a blue suit, and you're like, what's the significance of this until he whistles?
Yep. Fades out with the King of Despair has found a new host.
So that tells you right there that the 13 kings are actually something to be reckoned with, because they have, throughout time.
History.
Yeah. Time itself, even before mankind, they've lived. So, yeah, that's our first season right there, man. Like, and that's one hell of a ride. Like I said, I'm still working through season 2 myself, and definitely a different, semi-different feel. I mean, it's still in the same setting and stuff, but you get, like you said, you're more of a profile on your characters in this next one, so can't wait to finish that.
Yeah, they expand upon it beautifully. They keep the same kind of tropes where, like, everything kind of stands alone, but then you have this nice, beautiful puzzle picture done at the end of it all. So
Yeah.
I've had a lot of fun rewatching those the last couple weeks.
Right. So yeah, that is Blood Blockade Battlefront Season 1. So thank you for listening in. I know we can be long-winded. We just but I mean, that's us geeking out, and like it or hate it. I mean, that's what we're here for giving you. So. And honestly, like the anime we're recommending isn't some niche anime by any means. Like I know some niche anime, but we're not gonna retrospect those today.
Yeah, we might pick a poor one here and there, but for now we're gonna try and stick with things that'll be fun. We'll be coming back next week with season 2 of this.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, and I'm Eddie.
I'm Clinton.
This has been Brotaku Retrospective.
See y'all next time.